What's going on, everyone? John here. Today we have a special episode because this is going to be the first ever Q&A on the podcast. This is super exciting. A couple days ago, I left a question on Instagram asking you guys to ask questions for the first ever Q&A, which you guys did. And you guys who didn't, make sure to follow me on Instagram if you're not following me already, because I post a lot of useful content over there. I update you guys through stories and also a lot of infographics and a lot of cool stuff to learn and educate yourself on in terms of nutrition and health and all that kind of stuff. It's really cool. Check it out if you have the app. Mean a lot if you follow me over there as well. But this is going to be me winging it. I haven't prepared anything. I haven't really looked at the questions that much. So I don't know what we're going to face today. It might be, very, very controversial stuff. We'll see. The way I'm going to do this is take this one from Instagram, and then the next ones will be a mixture from YouTube comments, if you guys are watching this on YouTube, and maybe some more Instagram comments or questions as well. So we'll see how we do this thing, and we'll see if you guys enjoy this Q&A first before we even decide to do more episodes like this. So let's just get started. Let's see where this takes us. So the first question is from Sam the Wise One, and he asks, what are your thoughts on oil pulling? I'm not exactly sure what you mean by oil pulling. I'm assuming you mean the process of extracting oils from different vegetables and foods. And, it is a processed food, right? Oil is a refined food, so to speak. So I don't really recommend it as a health food at all. Now, there is always a place for oil if you struggle with gaining weight, if you want to boost your calories, or, if you just feel better with higher fat diets, then oil can be useful. There are loads of different types of oils, so I would definitely try to go for the ones with a more optimal omega-3 to omega-6 ratio, a oil that is a little bit lower in saturated fats. But at the end of the day, there are loads of people who eat a lot of coconut oil and a lot of saturated fats from oil as well, and they seem to be doing okay. So I'm not super against oils and or very for oils. I do use it in my own life quite a lot, and by a lot I mean way less than regular people, but I still use it a couple times a week. I'm not super against it, but yeah, I just try to stay away from processed foods as much as possible. And oils is it's a calorie bomb, right? And you'll gain weight easily if you eat a lot of oil. And I'm a person that gains weight pretty easily. I'm not a person who is a hard gainer or struggles putting on weight. So for me, it's just not a good idea to include a lot of oils. And, there's been studies showing that, increased amounts of oil intake is related to an increased inflammation in your body and weight gain and that kind of stuff. So just do whatever works for you. But in general, I don't recommend using too much, at least. Try not to cook every meal with oil. Maybe have a little sprinkle on your salads and that kind of stuff. That seems to be the safest advice, in my opinion. But thank you for the question, Sam the Wise One. Love the username. And next one is from Virgos789, and he or she asks, is everyone in your family vegan? Now, this is a really great question, right? Because I was recently doing an interview on another channel, and I was mentioning how I have 10 family members who are vegan, right? And a lot of people thought that I was lying. A lot of people thought that maybe I misspoke, but it's absolutely true. I do have everyone in my close family, so my parents, all my siblings, my wife, we're all vegan. And then we have my sister's boyfriend and my cousin as well. He's vegan. So in total, we're 10 people who are vegan, and we've been vegan for anywhere between 3 to 6 years, all of us. So we're all well on our way to getting protein deficient for sure. A lot of people ask this because it's very unusual, right? How many times do you hear about a family who is 100% vegan or eating 100% plant-based? That doesn't happen. I don't know any other family that does that, at least not, big families with four siblings or more. So that's pretty cool. I'm sure there are loads of families that do this, but I think people are really interested because they don't have examples of that in real life to look to. So yeah, we try to be an example. We try to live a healthy lifestyle and eat whole plant foods. That's what we do. My family does not eat a lot of oil at all. They are super whole food based, and they've been thriving. I mean, my dad is 52, I believe. My mom is, a couple years younger, and they're doing super well. Like, my dad looks very, very fit and athletic, and he's, recently, or in the last couple of years, he's really been taking the gym seriously. I might have him on the podcast actually to share some of his tips and his thoughts, because he's in the best shape of his life pretty much, and he's in his 50s. So yeah, we'll see where everything takes us as a family, but right now everything is going amazing. Everyone's thriving. So yeah, everyone in my family is currently vegan for sure. Okay, next one is from Abol. Okay, I'm not even going to try with the username. Anyway, the question is, I'm starting to be a vegan. What can I eat for more protein? Great question. Protein question always comes up every single time. I'm assuming it's going to come up in every single Q&A. So I'm going to go through this real quick. So main foods to eat for more protein are, number one, legumes. Legumes are amazing. You got beans, you got lentils, you got chickpeas, that kind of stuff. And I guess a version of a legume is also like things like soybeans and soybean products like tofu, tempeh. Those are amazing. Like, those are my go-to protein sources. So tempeh is my favorite because it's fermented. It got loads of health benefits, good for your gut. So tempeh is definitely my top source of protein, my favorite. It tastes amazing as well if you season it correctly. I use a little bit of liquid aminos, which is, it gives this umami flavor, and yeah, it's pretty much like soy sauce, but it's a little bit of a different twist, and I really enjoy it. I put it in the air fryer, and that's it. No oil, nothing, and that's how I eat my tempeh personally. Yeah, and then you got grains like brown rice, quinoa. Well, quinoa is actually a seed technically, but things like this, even oatmeal. They're pretty high in protein, and it adds up throughout the day, right? You don't have to, you actually have to try to choose the foods that are highest in protein in order to increase your protein intake throughout the day. So you don't want to be eating only oatmeal to get your protein intake up, right? Because it's not the highest, amount, or it's not the most protein dense source. So you want to go more for legumes for sure. But a lot of people have digestive issues. Like, if you're not used to eating a lot of legumes and beans and lentils and that kind of stuff, you got to take it easy. I would definitely recommend going more for things like tempeh, and in smaller amounts, just the more protein dense things in the beginning, just to allow your body some time to adapt to the new foods that you're taking in. So for me, it was never an issue because my mom is from Brazil, so she's always been cooking rice and beans every single day, as everyone else in Brazil does, and they've done it for many generations. And I don't know, it's a very large population, and they're all do well with rice and beans. So don't be afraid of them. It does take time for your body to get accustomed to new foods, but yeah, just get your legumes in. Basically, that's the whole point of this question. Okay, we're dragging on too long. I'm gonna try to go for a little bit of a what is it? Anas asks, is eating ass vegan? Okay, that's inappropriate. But I would have to say, it depends how you cook it, I guess. No, I'm just kidding. This is a horrible answer. Sorry about that. My sense of humor is really bad. Apologize. Talk about veganism and sex. What? Okay, well, this is this is why people actually plan the questions that they're gonna answer beforehand, so that you don't get these weird ones. But yeah, I have nothing to add there. I mean, apparently eating a plant-based diet is the best way to prevent erectile dysfunction and to optimize blood flow into your private areas. So only positive things to say about that. So what is your favorite thing about Spain, where I currently live, by the way, versus the US, or just in general? So Yeah, I was born in the U.S., but I've lived in Spain for a good majority, not a majority, but a good portion of my life. And what I would say is my favorite thing about Spain is how chill it is, compared to the U.S. And there it's different in the U.S. It's like you got 50 countries in one country, right? Every state is different, but in general, people are more relaxed. People aren't stressed out. They're not, workaholics. They take it easy. They spend a lot of time socializing, having fun, drinking beer, smoking weed. That's the kind of life that people live here in Spain. And I like it. I mean, it's not how I want to live my life exactly, but I do enjoy the vibe of this relaxed vibe and this lack of anxiety. I feel like in the society here. I think it's really cool, and obviously the weather is amazing. Like it's sunny most of the year, so that's cool as well. Food is cheaper in the than in the U.S. as well, so that's a big plus. And yeah, it's safe. It's safe. We don't get a lot of crazy violent criminal acts and that kind of stuff here. Especially now where we currently live, it's pretty safe for families. So nothing bad to say about Spain, apart from the fact that a lot of Spanish people do not speak English. Right? Their English is pretty bad. It's getting better with the years, like with the new generation, but still not the best for communication for sure. I do speak Spanish, so it's not an issue for me, but it's more of an issue for Catherine, my wife, who doesn't speak Spanish, and tourists that come. But yeah, it's still good. It's a great country, really, really good country to live in, especially if you speak Spanish and you like to live a chill life. Okay, so the next one will be from Caffeine Master, and he asks protein sources to combine to get full amino acid profiles as a vegan. So amino acid profile combining is a big question when it comes to a plant-based diet, because everyone hears that the vegan diet or plant-based protein sources are incomplete, right? They don't have all the amino acids that you need to build muscle optimally. And to some extent, it's true, but at the same time, they're not incomplete. Incomplete just means that there are certain amino acids that are way lower than others, but it doesn't mean that they don't include those amino acids at all, right? So you don't have to think about it. Your body does all the pairing and combining for you. It's not like you have to be a scientist and combine every single meal, and make sure that you're getting different amino acids and pairing them perfectly. That stuff is completely unnecessary. You don't have to do that. If that was the case, it would be almost impossible to build muscle on a vegan diet. And that is not the case at all. There are so many people doing it with relative ease, myself included. Still making a lot of gains. Not really. I kind of lost some gains. Need to get back into the gym. It's been like 3 weeks without going to the gym at this point consistently, which absolutely sucks. But yeah, your body does everything for you. You have to just eat the correct foods, right? So dark leafy greens, vegetables, fruits, and then if you have grains and legumes, then you're pretty much covered, because grains are high in some of the amino acids that legumes are low in, and then legumes are high in certain amino acids that are low in grains. So if you get grains and legumes in, you're pretty much set, and you don't have to worry about timing them or eating them at the same time. You can just think about it as long as you're eating a certain thing in the span of 24 hours, for example, then you're covered and you're good to go. Okay, so hope that makes sense. Thank you for the question, Caffeine Master. So the next one is from Whiskies, and he is asking, how many years have you been weightlifting? Great question. I've been lifting for 7 years now. 7 years. So I started about 1 year after meeting my wife, Catherine, and we met 8 years ago. So 7 years. Yeah. So it's starting to, add up. Like I always remember being new to the gym, and now it feels like I'm becoming very mature and experienced gym goer, which is cool. It's really cool to experience that. And you learn so much. Like every year, it kind of feels like you're learning how to contract your muscles even better. So it's fun. It's a fun journey. But you got to enjoy it, right? Like a lot of people would not even imagine going to the gym for 7 years in a row without taking more than a couple days off a week. It's a big commitment, and a lot of people are not willing to put in the work, which is completely fine, but I love it. So the Lisa Stephanie asks, is your protein powder all natural, aka no added sweeteners? Okay, so the Lisa Stephanie is asking about Vivo Life, which is the protein company or the supplement company that I am sponsored by and I work with. And the reason that I work with them so closely and I've been supporting them for so many years is because they stay true to their mission. They stay true to their commitment of having healthy products and focusing on health above everything else, as well as the environment and, having ethical products and all that stuff. Everything is covered, which, their mission statement aligns with mine, and that is why I support them, right? So in terms of health, Vivo Life is one of the few companies that actually take the extra time and they invest in third-party testing for things like pesticides, herbicides, and heavy metals even, which is amazing. A lot of companies don't do that because, it costs money to get those certifications, and the customers really don't, pay attention to these things. But I think it's really important. One of the most important things when you're going to buy supplements or any product is to make sure that they have certain certifications, certain processes to make sure that they're, safe to consume. And Vivo Life definitely does that. And, it's not the best business strategy. Like, they could have made a lot more money and become a lot bigger if they just cut the cost down in the ingredients, just source the ingredients way cheaper and not done all this testing and third-party stuff and all the certifications. They could have made a lot more money, but their mission statement is to provide the healthiest and the safest products on the market, and that is why I respect them so much. So big shout out to Viva Life. If you're interested, definitely check it out. You can access them through just going to their website. They have a US website, they have a UK website. Definitely recommend the protein powder and the new magic mushroom drinks. Not magic mushrooms, but it's called Magic, which is funny. I love the name. But yeah, it's like they have turmeric lattes, matcha lattes, all the good stuff. Really, really recommend that if you're trying to stay away from coffee and just replacing the coffee with something, nice. I really recommend it. Anyways, you can find the link in the show notes of this video or the description box if you're watching on YouTube, and use my code JV5 for a discount. Anyway, next question. And by the way, thank you for the opportunity to give a promo to Vivo, Stephanie. I appreciate that. Okay, next one. What do you think about UFC stars Diaz brothers, Nate and Nick Diaz? They're both vegan. I wasn't aware that they were vegan. I'm not a close follower of UFC, to be honest. I did know that Nate Diaz beat McGregor while he was prepping on a plant-based diet or, getting ready for the show. And I think he does follow a mainly plant-based diet, most of the time. So, yeah, I mean, I don't follow them personally, so I don't know, what I think about them. But it's really cool that more and more athletes are giving this diet a shot for performance, because it seems to be working really well. You get a lot of fighters, football players, soccer players, giving this diet a try, and I think it's probably very, very efficient, since a lot of people are starting to adopt that. So we'll see in the future. In a couple of years, we'll see if more athletes are adopting this diet or not, and what kind of advantages they feel by doing so. Thanks for the question. Okay, next one is so many to choose from here. Just give me a second. Okay. Anna Lily OT asks, different macros for men and women? Great question. So you do not have to focus on different macros just because, depending on your gender, right? It doesn't make any sense. So macros is just something that is more individualized, right? I generally don't, encourage people to follow a certain macro split unless they have the goal of, building muscle, losing body fat, or, achieving a certain goal, right? In general, just for health purposes and longevity and just happiness in general, I don't recommend tracking calories all the time and focusing on different macro splits. And I think that's because it's a pain in the ass to do that. And I think as long as you're eating a balanced diet with whole plant foods, it doesn't matter if you're eating a lot of nuts and seeds and fats necessarily. Maybe you're gonna gain weight a little bit easier, but as long as your calories at the end of the day are not way above your maintenance level, then you're gonna be fine, and you can eat. You don't need to restrict a macronutrient too much at all. So it's mainly a question about calories. How many calories are you eating? If you're eating way too many calories, then you're gonna gain weight. If you're eating, below your maintenance calorie level, you're gonna lose weight, and that's pretty much it. But in general, we recommend our clients that are trying to optimize their performance, build muscle, lose fat. We generally give away the macronutrient split of 60% carbohydrates, 20% fats, 20% of your calories coming from protein. So that's pretty much what we advise most of our clients. And now they're not professional bodybuilders, they're not professional athletes, so the requirements might go up for people who are training extremely hard for a sport. Then I might increase the protein a little bit more, and maybe even the carbs more as well. So you gotta individualize, you gotta experiment, see what your body feels good on. If you feel better with more fat in your diet, do that. If you feel better with more carbs, less fat, then do that. If you feel better with lower protein intakes, do that. If you feel better with high protein intakes, do that. Just experiment. But it doesn't have to be a difficult task to figure this out. Just take it easy, and just try to listen to your body when you eat something, see how you feel, and then make the future decisions based on those experiences. But yeah, in terms of men and women, there is no real difference, to be honest. At least not that I'm aware of. Maybe when you get a lot older, your requirements might change a little bit depending on your gender, but I don't think so. I think it's pretty much the same all the way. Now, this is a good one. Massimo3523 asks, do you check the oxalates in the food that you eat? So this oxalate anti-nutrient stuff is it's really been bugging me lately, because a lot of people are just so focused on these anti-nutrient things, these oxalates and lectins and all these things that are getting people really scared from of eating leafy greens and plants and legumes and grains and that kind of stuff. But the thing is, when you look at these things, yes, it is true that when you look at oxalates, for example, in a mechanistic study, for example, I'm just using examples here because I'm not a trained researcher or anything like that, but when you look at certain things individually and you observe in a study that oxalates, for example, bind to calcium and then create kidney stones or whatever, you can't really take this this observation of what oxalates in itself by themselves have, what kind of effect they have on you, as fact, right? As because that would mean that when you observe a population or you do randomized controlled trials on a group of people that are eating foods that contain oxalates, but then they're not seeing those negative effects that oxalates studied by themselves have, then the other compounds within those plants that contain oxalates are benefiting us in different ways. And it's really hard to say how one individual substance works in our body without taking into consideration everything else that is attached to that food, right? It's a very difficult question to answer. Like, what are the actual impacts of anti-nutrients in your body? And the reason why I'm not worried about it is because, I would have felt some side effects from eating all these anti-nutrients. All the people throughout history who are eating a lot of plant foods and rice and beans would have felt some serious negative health issues. But what you see is the opposite. Like, the people who eat the most amount of lectins and beans and that kind of stuff actually have the best health outcomes. So it's not that simple. It's not black and white. It's not about studying one thing like oxalates or one thing like lectins, and then studying the compound and the mechanistic factors that go into it. It's about observing the whole thing in general, the health outcomes of people eating foods that contain things like oxalates and lectins and that kind of stuff. And so far, there really isn't any good evidence suggesting that those foods are bad for you in any way. So I would just not worry about it. I would definitely take some more precaution and minimize the risk of it being an issue by soaking your legumes, like leaving your chickpeas or your beans in water overnight and then cooking them in a pressure cooker. That kind of stuff helps a lot, and that is the practice that everyone in Brazil, for example, where I grew up, do. They all soak their beans for a very long time and then they cook it in a pressure cooker, and no one has any issues. Just take that into consideration. Do whatever you want, but I wouldn't be scared of anti-nutrients at all, and that is just my opinion. Okay, Kalane Aukai asks, who's bigger, you or Leo? That's a great question, but I think everyone knows the answer to that. So Leo's my brother, has been featured on this podcast a couple times, and I gave him the nickname Spaghetti Man a long time ago because of how thin and spaghetti looking his arms were, which is not the case anymore. He's been making a lot of gains, and all of his gains has been while he was a vegan. So that's pretty interesting as well. As with me, it's been kind of 3 years on a heavy meat diet and then another 4 years on a vegan diet. So it's really cool to have people who have built all their muscles as a vegan, and Leo, my brother, is definitely one of them, and he's been making a lot of gains. But I'm still bigger, and I always will be. You listening to that, Leo? Anyways, I really don't care about the size that much. It's just that, the vegan diet is so efficient that my muscles just became a lot bigger than I expected, and that's it. That's vegan propaganda for you guys right there. Okay, so last couple of questions. I'll do 2 more because there are just too many to go through. Okay, this is an interesting one. Karen VF asks, do you think that being on a vegan diet is a solution to global warming? Okay, great question. A lot of people do promote vegan diets or a plant-based diet as a solution to global warming, as a greener way of eating, as a more environmentally friendly way of eating. And I mean, these things are really hard to know. There's so many factors that play a role in this. But, I would say that, it does look like the carbon footprint from people who are eating meat is definitely way higher. So it does make sense. But whether or not, our greenhouse gas emissions are actually contributing to global warming, at the scale that we're being told that we're doing is questionable, right? Because a lot of people do know that the world heats up by itself and they go through cycles and that kind of stuff. So I'm not a global warming denier or anything like that. I do think that we don't know as much as we think we know, and there might be other factors at play, not just greenhouse gas emissions and carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. But I will say this. I will say that, reducing animal products and the consumption and the, cutting down on the rainforest and, the cutting down of the planet's lungs, I think, and obviously all the pollution related to animal agriculture with all the feces that run into water streams and that kind of stuff. And obviously just greenhouse gases, fossil fuel, emissions in general. I don't see any negative things about removing them, regardless whether or not it's causing global warming. I think it's a good thing to focus on more, cleaner energy, more renewable energy, and obviously eating less meat and eating more plants will be beneficial. But again, there's a lot of issues with agriculture as a whole, like, monocrops and that kind of stuff is definitely not the best for the environment. And unfortunately, a lot of plants are still grown that way. And it's just not efficient. So we have a lot of work to do. But in terms of global warming, being vegan is not the solution at all. But it's probably a very good idea to eat a plant-based diet for if you really want to reduce your carbon footprint. It makes sense theoretically. That's what Cowspiracy told us. Who knows what the truth is? But at the end of the day, I don't see any negative aspects to reducing the amount of fossil fuels that humans are burning on a daily basis. So yeah, thumbs up for me. Eating plant-based for the environment. I don't see a problem with that at all. So we are gonna go to the very last question of the day right now. Let me know for you guys who are watching on YouTube or listening on iTunes, let me know whether or not you think that these episodes are too long, or if you think they're perfect. Like, let me know what kind of length that you guys prefer these podcasts to be. Is it preferably when it's like 1 hour? Do you prefer it 1 hour long, or 10 minutes long, or 20 minutes, 30 minutes? Let me know. Do you recommend a vegan mass gainer to gain muscle? Okay. Yeah, this is a very short one. The answer is pretty much no, and that's it. I don't recommend mass gainers. Just eat real food. That's gonna be the best. Okay, that was a real bit very short one. So let's go for another one. And this is more of a controversial one, I guess, more of a difficult one to tackle. Philip.s asks, how do you deal with annoying comments about veganism and people denying facts? Right. So, as a person who believes a certain thing and is trying to promote it, like veganism, for example, it is really important to understand that other people do not understand or have the same perspective as you do. They don't have the same passions and values as you have. So, I just have to for myself personally, I just realize that I'm in a certain place in my life and I have a certain outlook on the world and a certain philosophy. And I understand that a lot of people don't understand my way of thinking. I understand how it's easy to just ignore things and deny things and just live a comfortable, happy, or unhappy life. Just like comfort and convenience and leisure and, entertainment and mindlessness is what is the norm in our society right now. So I don't judge anyone for not wanting to look into these important issues. Like, I understand it is a world that we've created, and that's just the way it is. You can't blame the player. You got to blame the game. And, unfortunately, the game we're playing right now is just about, getting money, getting hoes, and, just living a crazy indulgent lifestyle, and just that's it. That is the world that we're living in right now. There is definitely a awakening, and in terms of people who are more conscious about these serious issues. There are more people than ever trying to help out with charities and nonprofits and doing things for the planet, which is amazing, which is something that really gives me a lot of hope. But in terms of the question, how do you deal with it? How do I deal with comments and that kind of stuff? Is I just don't deal with it. I just take it as it is. I don't let other people affect the way that I feel or affect the way that I think. I think it's just about you understanding that you can't really change other people's minds. They have to change it themselves. You can be the catalyst, you can inform people, but at the end of the day, that person has to make the choice to look into the information that you're talking about, and you can't do anything about it. So yeah, I just feel like staying positive, doing my own thing, and talking to people who are actually willing to listen is much more effective rather than dwelling on people that don't want to listen to anything that you have to say. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this Q&A. I hope it was a enjoyable one. I think we went on for, just over half an hour. Let me know again if that was too long, if that was too short, what you want to listen to next. That'll be really helpful. Thank you so much for all the support. If you're listening in on iTunes, I would really, really appreciate a rating. Seriously, that would mean the world to me. I think I still got zero ratings on iTunes, to my knowledge. So it would be amazing if you listening right now, you're the first one to leave a rating. That'll be awesome. But yeah, thank you so much. And that's pretty much it. Peace out.